Namaste, everyone. Let us begin this snippet series pondering a little on immortality. Immortality. How do we mortals understand this concept? To our common minds, immortality means a continuity of life, or rather, life in this physical body. But we also know this as a fact that the physical frame must dissolve and disintegrate one day. And we take that to be the end. So, who is immortal? Where and what is immortality? You take a dead body to pieces and cry triumphantly. Where is your soul and where is your immortality? Yes, Sri Aurobindo has aptly spelled it out. This is the experience of our life. As we stand by the corpse of a loved one, we ask this question. We ponder on the issues of immortality and death, but finally return helpless as we see the body dead and cold and lifeless lying in front of us. But as we witness death, we forget that it is death of the body only. And apart from this physical sheath, this material sheath, there are other layers also, other sheaths also, making up the totality of our being. There is the mental being, what we call the mental being, which, when it reincarnates in a new body, may retain the memories of its previous birth. And memory is the powers of memory can be cultivated. Generally, what happens, we remember our life at the age of, say, 3 or 4 years. One who has cultivated his powers even in a better way may remember his very infancy. One with sharper powers of memory may go back and recollect the events of his past life also. But even then, even this is not what immortality is about. And Sri Aurobindo says in one of his aphorisms, and aphorisms are by nature very pithy and concise sayings full of profound thoughts. Thus, Sri Aurobindo tells us, immortality is not the survival of the mental personality after death, though that also is true, but the waking possession of the unborn and deathless self, of which body is only an instrument and a shadow. Sri Aurobindo thus reminds us that there is the eternal, the self, which exists always. And immortality is being conscious of this self and identifying with it rather than with the body merely. For the body is only an instrument of the eternal existent self. It is there to help us in our evolutionary progress. And when it cannot do so, it has to be discarded. So, Sri Aurobindo also says that the body is a shadow. So, shadow itself means light in a way, because without light we do not have any shadow. So, what is the body a shadow of? It is again the shadow of the eternal, luminous self in us. And the self has no beginning and no end. But we mortals consider our birth here on earth as the beginning and the death of the body as the end. But we forget that we are talking of only one lifespan. We are considering only a part of the eternal life. And Sri Aurobindo says in another one of his aphorisms, the beginning and end of things is a conventional term of our experience. In their true existence, these terms have no reality. There is no end and no beginning. It is true, survival of the body as in this present stage of evolution is not possible and not even desirable, because the body is a machine, an instrument beset with sickness, disease, old age. Though we have some means, perhaps some technological means of prolonging life in the body, because I've seen the ill and suffering put on life support systems for days and months. I also know of some who have been comatose for years on end. But is this life? Is this immortality? The body, in spite of all our efforts at preserving it, succumbs to the dissipating forces, the external forces, and dies. Life in the same body cannot continue as the life energy gets weaker and cannot help the body to keep pace with the changing environment or the evolutionary progress. So it is defeated by what we mortals call death. But here, Sri Aurobindo reminds us again in another of his thought provoking aphorism when he says, "Death is by our choice." Now, what a statement! And he says, "There is a means to attain physical immortality, and death is by our choice, not by nature's compulsion. But who would care to wear one coat for 100 years, or be confined in one narrow and changeless lodging unto a long eternity?" So, does this seem to contradict Sri Aurobindo's earlier utterance on this? Not at all. As we said, we won't want to carry on with an old sick body forever and ever. And when the body becomes a useless instrument, it has to be discarded. The soul decides when it shall leave the physical frame and take on a new one, a new coat to wear. This is what Sri Aurobindo tells us. Death is by choice. So we come back to the same idea, that is, even when there is death of the body, life does not cease to be. The life energy is conserved and takes on a new and fresh form. So, what does this mean? It's that we mental beings cannot be conscious of that eternal life, the eternal existent soul. And so, death of the body spells the end for us. But once we become conscious of ourself, our soul, we shall know that we are immortal. For immortality is an experience of the soul by the soul. And we have to consciously believe in the infinity, in the eternal, and unite our consciousness with the divine to experience immortality. Thank you.